Yes. So very good evening and a very warm welcome to all the participants who are joining in today's session. My name is Tanya Gupta and I am a chartered accountant by profession. Namaste, Sat Shri Akal, Vadakkam. Hope you all are safe and doing well during these tough times. Though COVID cases have gradually declined to a very low level, but I always say and I will always recommend to take due precautions whatever necessary, because our health is in our own hands, right? So I could see that many of my attendees, committed chartered accountants, tax professionals across India have joined us, but we will wait for 5 minutes so that all our professionals can join us, and we all in together united can head towards development and growth. And I really bow down in front of everyone who, despite the Sunday evening, the weekend in which we want to just relax and spend time with our families, you are here with us dedicatedly focused towards learning and growth. Your sheer determination and dedication to grow helps us, not even helps us, they forces us to bring such insightful sessions on various topics, be it startup, be it income tax, be it GST, for your holistic development and growth. So as I always say, at Optotax, we are trying to create a platform where we all can, share our views, share our knowledge, and learn and grow together, united. We are able to build a community wherein, because in today's era, networking is the net worth, which even yesterday's chairman of NIRC, our guest of honor, Avinash sir, even mentioned that network is the net worth for in today's era. So keep networking and build your network so strong that you never face any difficulties. Hope you have thoroughly enjoyed yesterday's session and have got a really good insights what our faculties for yesterday, CA Anand Gaudeji sir and CA Rahul Saria ji, had taught about the terminology of startups, and how valuations are done, how due diligence of startups are done. So stay tuned with us. And as I mentioned yesterday, that those three people, those three tax professionals who will attend our entire course, in the complete course entirely, will be awarded a small token of appreciation for your valuable time. And this time, Voice of CA along with Optotax will be giving you the a little surprise for your valuable time and efforts. Now, I would like to hand over the stage to CA Neha Agrawal, the convener for today from Voice of CA. And Voice of CA since 2009 had been doing tremendous for the upgradation of our CA profession. So over to you, Neha, for you can take the proceedings further.
Thank you so much, Tanya. I welcome everybody today for the second session of potential for growth of CA practice. That's what we are focusing at. So I would heartily welcome our guest of honor today, ca.fenil Shah, who's the immediate past chairman of Ahmedabad branch of WIRC of ICAI. He is practicing CA in cyber law and corporate compliance. His portfolio of degree is huge, starting with CA, CS, MCOM, LLB, cyber law diploma in ISA, and also he's a member of CSL of Gujarat State of Bharatiya Janata Party. He is awarded with the Certificate of Commitment by World Book of Records, London. He's awarded with the title of Social Contributor Icon of India by Kotak Group. He's pursuing his PhD in startups in India, and he's authoring a book, Proper Life, on work-life balance, which is very important for all of us. He's also spiritually awakened. As I can see, he's a founder mentor of a social charity group named Sakrut Parivar Charitable Trust, and so many more accolades in his armor. I would now request Fenil sir to enlighten us with his words of wisdom.
Thank you, Neha, for such a sweet introduction. CA Rahul Saria ji and CA Anand Gaudeji ji, the speakers for yesterday. CA Sharad, Maheshwari ji, the speaker for today, and also CA Harshvardhan Babaji, the speaker for tomorrow. The young and a dynamic women's team, I can see who is leading this particular webinars for the growth of the young chartered accountants. That is CA Tanya Gupta, CA Neha Agarwal, and CA Ramya Shi. So, and all the wonderful audience who had rightly I'll not say spend, but have invested their time in the Sunday evening on learning something, which is not only going to upgrade their knowledge, but yes, it's going to support the startups, which is the future of India to come in the times to come. And before I give my small address, I would like to express Michhami Dukadam to all of you, because it's Paruna today. So on behalf of my side, Michhami Dukadam, and also would like to just update you that one of the political news, which was just you received yesterday, that was with respect to the Gujarat CM resigning and the new CM to come. And you might have received an update on it. Let me tell you also that Shri Bhupendra Patel is the new chief minister who is going to take the oath as the 17th CM of Gujarat, as per the news which are coming right now. Now, very first important thing, when I had an interaction with Tanya ji, that they are going to have this kind of webinar series, and they told me to come and I was in our fraternity, the talks are going on one hand, that they the increasing impact of is becoming all these things on one hand. On another hand, the technology is taking over the things. That is, earlier was the days where A for apple, B for ball, C for cat, D for doll was the days. But now when you see the technological explosion right now, and that too affecting our profession, then A for artificial intelligence, D for blockchain, C for cryptocurrency or cyber analytics, and D for data analytics. And all these things are agree. And this might impact our profession also. But friends, let me tell you that all these things is going or to impact or may impact compliance. But on the other hand, what will grow is the consultancy practice. And that's where the niche areas which are to boom in future is the startups, and that's where Optotax is taking a very pivotal stage of educating you all with this particular way, that how startups can be funded, how the funding arrangement can be done. The second stage comes as management and operations, this session. And the third, very important, is the compliance in various fields. That's a startup, that's a session which is going to be tomorrow. And in my personal opinion, if India is to touch the 5 trillion economy, which our Prime Minister focuses, then in my view, two things are strongly going to support that dream and are going to act as a strong that dream of 5 trillion. And that is one, in my personal view, is the agriculture sector. Probably you might think that agriculture supporting, yes, the way I see agriculture growing right now, agriculture might be one of the backbone. And the second backbone, which can turn out to be miraculous in this dream, is nothing else but startup supported by various dreams or various projects like Stand Up India, Startup India. And friends, how come today's session that is going to be on management and operations? And that's where a CA, a chartered accountant, a practicing chartered accountant can play a very pivotal role. Then when you listen to Nehaji, when she was introducing, then she told that I'm doing a PhD, a doctorate in my research in startups in Western region. Then when I talk to various entrepreneurs of startups and basically venturers, then I talk to them on various aspects. And there, when it comes to seeing how much successful a startup is, then the main thrust, the main pillar is in management and operations. Because once if you have a good idea, getting funds is easy. And one time you can get also funds. Later on, compliance is needed to be done. Compliance, various other things are available. But what very important is the management and operations which are needed to be driven. And that's where if a chartered accountant comes into a pivotal role, no one can stop that startup to reach the new heights. Because if you are doing management and operation perfect tune, then you are going to satisfy the needs of the persons who have funded you. And you are also able to do the compliance at a right point of time. If these three things are balanced, then you can always focus on the product in which you are there. And friends, if I personally share my opinion, then first of all, whenever you are into any startups, you need to identify that whether that startup is truly a startup. Because when it comes to startup, we need to focus on innovation. Actually, a startup is something, as if you read or you go through the policies which are devised by government, the actual needed meaning, not the definition which is given, then startup is something which is into unique area, which is into novel area, which is into innovative area. But if you see 90% of startups which are registered or which are coming for registrations, they are not falling into innovative area, they are falling into renovation area. Innovation, such a kind of product or such a kind of service or the way you are forecasting an idea already exists. You are already only giving a value addition to that particular thing. Then if your startup is an innovation, something unique, something new, that while managing and operating, you need to focus on brand building. You need to focus on creating and generating the need for that new product. And then it comes to marketing that new product. And then comes all the compliances and everything. And if your product is not an innovation, it's a renovation, something value addition of something which already exists, then while managing and operating, you need to focus on the competitive elements on one hand. And you can say, on another hand, you need to focus that how the startup of which you are doing in management is going to survive by doing some value additions. And lastly, to end up, I can say that whenever you are into management and operations of a startup as a practicing CA, as a practicing chartered accountant professional, you need to have a knowledge of, you should have a thorough, complete knowledge of the nature of the work of your client, the nature of the product, the industry knowledge to which your startup belongs to, the ever-changing government policies, how the funds have came and how further the funding is to be done, and also which compliances needed to be done. If all these things are in your mind at the time of doing management and operations, then the journey for the startup professional is going to be absolutely perfect. And friends, had this be normal one, the survival of a startup was very easy. But now the role as a chartered accountant in supporting the startup has become challenging, because we know that we are living in a scenario of post-COVID-19. I can say not post-COVID-19, we are still surviving into COVID-19 scenario. And as we all know that COVID-19 is a black swan event. So with this brief words as a keynote words for starting the session of management and operations of startup, which is very pivotal for the chartered accountant to know as an emerging new era, I would again like to thank Optotax for arranging such a webinars and inviting me. In special thanking CA Tanya Gupta for coordinating with me and giving me an opportunity to join this particular very crucial webinar. Shri Abhishek Sharma ji for coordinating throughout till now for this particular session. And at the end, all you, the lovely audience, who are really spending and investing your Sunday time in learning the new things. And surely I'm confident that this knowledge which you are going to gain is going to add to your profile a very good area of practice, and success is going to be yours in the times to come. So thank you again. Thanks a lot.
I would like to thank Fenil sir for awakening us towards the ABCD of technology and the role of chartered accountants in the startup world. And for his valuable time, sir. Thank you so much for sharing the screen with us. And we would like to thank you again from Optotax as well as Voice of CA for your presence, sir. Thank you, sir. Coming to the topic of today, we are discussing management and operations of startups today. We will try to cover establishing value chain for various functions, the formulation of goals and strategies, financial management, of course, including budgets, and CA as virtual CFO, which is the hot topic. We also have our faculty, CA Sharad Maheshwari over here. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. He's a CA, CS, CP Australia and has 2.5 decades of leadership experience across global organizations like Schlumberger, Baker Hughes, Dumi Amada across India, Middle East, Southeast Asia, and Africa. Please forgive my pronunciation, sir. He has been running virtual CFO services for startups, MSMEs, transaction advisory services, data analytics, risk management, and compliance services since 2017, which are actually still new to us CAs. He brings in the expertise in cement, ONG, brewery, power transmission, trading, hospitality, pharma, auto, textiles, telecom, mining, luxury resorts, business hotel chains, and so many more industries. He has authored various books in financial accounting and cost accounting. Now, I would like to hand it over to Sharad sir to please take the stage and enlighten us for today's topic.
First of all, thank you very much, Neha ji and Tanya ji, and Neha ji, especially you for for such kind words and this one. And thank you, CA Fenil Shah ji, for your kind word, for your deliberations on the topic. It is very enlightening. So please let me share the screen, sir. Can I share the screen?
So you can share this thing.
So right now, just to give a brief background on the startup stage right now in India. So against 336 listed companies as we had, there are around 63 unicorns. Unicorns are startups with $1 billion capitalization. So there's around $73 billion ones. So which really makes it a very big area for all of us to tap in. So obviously, when these companies are grown so big, so they need various kinds of services, including due diligence, support, including legal, financial, and all those financial management and process management. So the experience has been that as these companies grow so fast, they at the same time they need a hand in terms of process management also and cost management. So that's where I would say there's a big scope for all of us here in terms of the support that we can give. The sectors have been very diversified, but has been as expected. It's more in e-commerce, fintech, education technology, food delivery, mobility companies, and is also growing in software as a service, SaaS services. Recently, Zomato came up with the issue. Now Oyo is planning it, so that the startups are no longer just raising funds for the angel investors or the VCs. So they are going up to the IPO stage, which really means that there's a lot of work to be gained from all of these work from us. During the last 15-20 years has been really
Sorry to interrupt you in between, but your video isn't visible. Could you please switch on your video?
okay, sorry.
No worries. Yeah, it's perfectly visible.
Is it okay now?
Yes, sir, it's perfectly okay.
So in the digital space, also for the startups, it has been also been driven by the digital growth in India. From 15% Indians having phones in 2005, now it has gone up to 85%. So this will also involve financial innovations in accelerating the Indian stack movement, so biometrics, UPI. So this all has led to the growth of the startups, which in turns means from the normal regular compliance, beside the normal regular compliance, we have got other works where we can help these startups out. As Shahji said, that there's more important is the managing. Once you have the product, we have what is important is to know to the go to the market strategy and having a complete understanding of the business. Currently, the requirement, what we feel that is that the startups require us to be more than an accountants. They require us to be business advisors. And in terms of, and to do that, we need to understand the business first and what is the problem that they are solving it out. The product development is the initial phase and the deployment. And then obviously then there's a support is required in terms of marketing and the go-to-market strategy. Whether they want to go pan India, it's going only to begin Haryana first, it's going to be NCR, it's going to be B2B, B2C. So all these kind of areas where we can help with the data points, it will help us. It will help the startups in their growth strategy. And obviously in the finance, HR, and IT functions, uh, where we can streamline the processes, there is a growth areas. Obviously, to have the value chain, it is important to have the understand what is the long-term vision or the goal, what is the problem that the company is solving it out. For example, a company might be in the food delivery business, but if it finds another profitable venture, does it needs to go or it has to focus in there? We can help them to analyze how it aligns with their long-term vision and goals. And this, especially to manage the operation, obviously, we need some data points. Having KPIs and monitoring them would be really important. Uh, then obviously, then during the processes, we always see build versus buy versus lease models. Whether it is good enough to make your own tool, whether it's good to buy a tool, or whether it's good to lease it out. So these kind of strategies could also where we could help them out. For example, let's say you have a CRM. The company wants to build a CRM. How much, whether it can buy a Zoho CRM or it can build its own CRM because it needs a lot of customization. Then there's also comes hire versus technology, using technology. I'm currently working with two startups where one is using it, it's kind of it's in, says it's using manpower. They got made a, like a 300 to 400 people out there supporting there as a call center. But at the same time, a new startups wants to go use the technology using AI and RPA model where the calls can be the first level of calls can be made uh, using RPAs. So they have the minimum, and after the first calls are done, and then the second calls are done by human beings. So in a way, that's a different strategy that they are having. But it also depends upon how you then, as a advisor, we can tell, okay, this is the value addition or the ROI you're going to get from the two different strategies. Data, as obviously is the new king, we all know. The data points, the data is immense. Like Mr. Shah said, like, the D is for data analytics. Uh, Cost control is very important. How we help them to manage the cost is important. There's always been stories of startups going in using the money to buy the cars from investors fund and then putting the money into different areas. So this is some areas where we can obviously help out. In terms of getting the highest ROI is the most important thing. For example, when we have, to give you an example, there was obviously various options available at the time of managing a startup, where I would recommend that we look at where we are getting the highest return on every penny that we are going to spend out. Whether the first of all, it will depend upon the strategy that we are developing it, strategy development. Then if there is a change has to be made as per the plan, as per the strategy, we need to make a change in plan. If requires staffing and training of these people, that is done. And let's say if you have to do an automation tool procurement, we we need to understand a need and define the objective. For example, in this case, where I was telling that we define that we need to call the prospective customers to enlist with us, so that uh, with us. So whether the option was to hire 20 people and make a call center, or whether it was to outsource that call center to someone else on a uh, on a success base, at the same time using a technology to shortlist the possible customers. So there was two level of chain was done. One, first the shortlist the customer using technology, then a success based fee, rather than having a totally 15 to 20 people as on our call center cost. And then obviously then you can't let's say in an RPA tool you cannot go on for any activity to do an RPA tool or customize it. It will also depend on the ROI, then whether the effort is standardized, whether it's repetitive task, everything. And once the process is done, we have to use a Six Sigma, lean Six Sigma based on this, and then we choose an appropriate tool, and then a project delivery. So an holistic view has to be taken in terms of the task to be performed. Our organization should focus on what is optimum and effective solution. For example, the solution that we are doing it might not be effective in particular some other industry. So it will also depend who your target customers are. It might not be applicable in case of a luxury, selling a luxury product to someone else, but it might be possible to sell a standard product or a commodity based on the suggestion I have given. In terms of strategy, it is always going to be a two-way interactive process. Uh, the process, obviously, you'll have to build your plans, interact with them, interact with the management, define the goals, and there has to be a buy-in, a share and collaborate with the team, and align and connect with the team members. And then obviously you have to track it. Tracking is very important because most of our plans do fall because we do not have KPIs in place. There's no effective follow-up on doing done on this one. It is also important that the goals and plans are in line with the ultimate vision, and these are not made in silos. Any questions till now? Do let me know. If I have any questions, I can answer. Okay. Coming to once you have defined a goal that we need to achieve something, then obviously that project has to be managed. There has to be a project management to be done on it. The most important is obviously the starting is the assessment, that we assess whether the project, what is the requirement to be made. When we are working with our clients in terms of assessing what the requirements are, the defining of the scope is the most important thing. Then obviously understanding what is the transformation they want from X point to Y point, how do they want to go, what are the current processes in place, and what could be the future processes based on using Six Sigma technique. Then based on this, we decide whether how do we redesign our processes, the current processes, to meet the objective. It might be a simple tweak or it might be a major change depending on what is required. It can be a change in system, it can be a change in process, or it can be a change in how a person does the work. Based on this, we decide what is going to be the ROI out of it. Whether, let's say, we have to do an RPA project, and before putting the money in or investing in it with the company, we decide what the ROI project would be. And once the ROI is positive or required or gives a better return than any other project, we use the deployment project. Start getting the deployment is obviously the most difficult and the critical thing in terms of the changes happening. Normally in a project, what goes wrong, to give you an example, in case of an automation, the most one of the biggest challenge is the resistance to change. When we work with startups, these founders are used to a particular way, even though they are highly IT and agile people. But any process, if it has to change, there's obviously a resistance to it. And the most important is, how do you overcome this resistance? The resistance has to be overcome in collaboration with the management. The success of the project depends on this support that you're getting in from not only from the management but also from down the lane. Then 24% can be due to system issues, and 28 could be due to communication. It's like Chinese whisper. If you do not communicate properly, it can fall. It can X can become A in the whole process, and the whole process can fall apart. And and the last one and the least one is the skills of the people. The problem could be that we do not have the right talent in the organization to implement it. This is where we come in terms as an advisor, to give a holistic picture. What are the areas that needs improvement or where we can work it out? The challenge is obviously it's more difficult than just explaining when the actual practical implementation does happen. Just to give you, like Shah Saab said, the advisory services is one of the biggest areas happening here. A survey done by CPA Australia for SMEs, I'm sharing with you, where they asked them, where the SMEs asked, how many of them used their accountants to act as virtual CFO. It was only 13.3%. And how many of their accountants give some benchmarking data or the KPIs? It was only 23%. Uh, I presume similar situation or even a bit lesser situation would be based in India. And and differently is obviously there is an area where people said that they don't use it but require services. And the third is obviously still a large area, which is another challenging one, which is no, and we do not require services. But there is always still an open market here where services are being required. Services are being required as to act as advisors for different categories. The expectation is coming more, even in countries like Australia, that the accountants do more services than just an accountant, but they come up as advisors also. So as technology is improving, is increasingly replaces or automated lower levels of accounting services. We are having cases where reconciliations are being automated, where accounting entries are being used by RPAs and automation. So at the same time, so those areas are getting reduced in terms of current practices. So, but we are required in terms of higher value added services related to these tasks. Like Shasta said, that one of the biggest challenges. This is also a part of the survey from the CPA Australia. One of the biggest challenges is the technology disruption. Like 45% of the respondents said that the biggest challenge is the technology disruption. And 42% said the changes in the regulation. Similarly, like what we are having similar changes in terms of GST audit going away and the possibility of the start audit going away. So these are the different major challenges happening. Uncertain economic conditions, there are cases there, but the highest one seems to be technology disruption, changes in the regulations, adapting to the changing emerging client needs, and growing the client base. So if I look at it, most of the respondents were worried on these four areas. Uh, the recent changes, there have been some recent changes in the laws which are restricting our current traditional way of work. For example, the GST audit, the proposed change in the statutory audit, the faceless assessment. COVID had been a major impact. The technology is coming in terms of RPA, data analytics, merger of bands, client pricing and collection, and obviously the client comes now with the Google Baba with the information right now, the legal information available on the net. So he is also much more aware of certain laws happening. Uh, Presenting the virtual CFO service to prospective client is like an advisory services. The most important is to understanding the client, building your trust, and at the same time, the building trust takes time and it has to be done with patience. And most important is important to understand who the target audience are and what is their need for this one. Certain clients might have an assessment requirement of growing in terms of due diligence. The some certain times might be having the working capital requirements, and certain time have the financial management. The needs could be different for different clients. Virtual CFO services is quite a broad area in terms of services that we can provide. The importance is the CFO needs to provide the part of the help in the long-term financial planning and the strategy process, help in the creating and activating the long-term plans, identifying gaps, prioritizing investments, and importantly, very importantly, helping in developing the return on invested capital, creating growth, invest or helping in whether to invest a business, invest in a new business, grow out of the new business. For example, we had a client whether he wanted to move into up the value chain from the commodity business to make it into a value chain, and at the same time he wanted to go for the invest with a Japanese fund. So the question is obviously there helps us in terms of advising them how they can collaborate with the Japanese to go into the higher value added change. And one more important thing is that we need to help to develop the finance team of the client. The, the success of our project would depend on on how good the finance team is trained to deliver it out. As a part of the virtual CFO, you will not be 100% been there most of the cases. So you would obviously need people who could deliver, help you in delivering what is required to meet the long-term objective of the client. And this will only be happen if the finance team is strong enough or good enough to help you support that. As in the startups, we can help in a lot of ways. We can help in organization design structure, the financial management, the FP&A treasury, investor focus. Currently, we are working with the startups who's in the uh, who's is in the fashion business, and we are helping which area, which countries to uh, countries or the product to develop first. What are the target customers accordingly? Where would the marketing spend would be spent? The digital marketing. We are also looking at how the digital marketing is, which one of the channels are better. Understanding those customers. So advising on those kind of stuff. And obviously, even going beyond to say, okay, the website looks good, doesn't look good, and going in as a client and buying it out to see whether the product, the customer's experience goes through well. So understanding all those kind of things, helping the startups to work on, are big areas for us where we can advise on. Uh, Let me know if any questions or yes, sir. Do let me know if you have any questions. Uh, Clients always ask for investors rather than innovations. Good evening. Please let me know if there's any questions or anything which I can answer.
I request the participants to write down their question in the chat box in case they have any. We'll take it up. I think we can go ahead, sir.
Okay. So at this stage, I would say so there's a question saying, Piyush, all the points you discuss are also available in-house to them. Uh, Sorry, I didn't understand that, Piyush. If you can just elaborate it, please. Okay, what is the scope of virtual CFO services in near future? So in this, Sudarshan, CS Sudarshanji, in the scope in the near future seems quite good to me in terms of he can be advising on various things from the working capital, from launching of the product, on the market strategy, and for different other helping in due diligence, supporting in due diligence. Right now, we're supporting some companies on due diligence side, so it could be a difference here. Uh, all the points you discuss are also in-house to them. How do we counter them? Uh, so the points are, I would say, is how do we counter them? Just if you can elaborate, they will obviously the startup understand these points, but at the same time they do need advisors to work with them. So I'm not sure if I have cleared your answer. If not, please let me know again. So in terms of, sir, is there any scope for small CA firms in blockchain? I would say, sir, Rohitji, in terms of blockchain, the blockchains is an area which is growing in terms of, especially in terms of supply chain. Whether it's blockchain has a for CA firms. Is still being evolved into a in terms of the cost effective way, but at the same time there are areas like data analytics where you can use business intelligence tools to help your clients. There are other areas where which you can look. Funded startups generally have full-time CFOs. Is there a scope only for non-funded ones? So in terms of funded startups, they do have full-time CFOs, but even then, at certain times, there's a requirement for interim CFOs, which is there, where you can help them out. But also, there could be availability not as CFO, but as process management or other areas where you could also help them out. So the virtual CFO, how to reach out to a startup as a CA consultant. Uh, it's a very, I would say it's a challenging task in terms of a startup as a consultant. What you can, there are different ways. One is through your existing clientele. One is obviously through going through startup forums, meeting people out there, like what Tanya ji and Neha ji earlier said. Network is the new net worth. So it's a question of moving for us as chartered accountants to move out from our comfort zone and to go and present to. There are incubator centers, there are angel networks. The opportunities are there. But I would say it's not easy. Yeah, it does takes time, sir. Uh, any scope of mentoring to CAs as one-to-one basis? Any scope of? Um I think probably Tanya ji or Neha ji could reply if they have a place. If they, I think on a one-to-one basis, I do not know, but this is a kind of a platform that they have done. So this is one area. I do not know if Tanya ji or Neha ji have some basis of doing a one-to-one basis.
It has been quite an upcoming request, actually. We were getting such requests yesterday as well.
Okay.
We'll definitely brainstorm and see if we can do something about it. But of course, for the meantime, we will keep on organizing such webinars where we can add to our knowledge.
I think this is an excellent platform, and like what you said, uh, thank you. I think the opportunities are quite high in terms of because getting to a new customer, that is the biggest challenge, and obviously that can be helpful. To one is to how to is obviously you need to have first the biggest I think importance is the trust. The most of the my work you get or the repeat work I would get is through my connects who knows me or who have recommended me in the future, or the repeat works comes from there. So it's obviously important. It's a slow process in the beginning, and it does take time. So uh, just have some patience and keep on hard work. That's the I do not have any other quick solution for that, sir. Uh, in case of managing operations, I would suggest understanding the nature of the business, not just from the accounting perspective per se, but also what is the product line, what is the market, how we are going to uh, tackle it, what is the competition, like Mr. Shah said. So it's a mix of these things, is going out from a removing the account, having the accountant hat, plus at the same time the wearing of a business or the entrepreneur's hat would help us to become a better CFO or virtual CFO services. Is there any other question? If you have anything else where I can help out, do let me know.
If I may ask a question, sir, is it possible?
I would also suggest if you have, in advisory areas, because we are all chartered accountants, and then one thing that we have very strong are is at our data points. So the data points that we understand very well. So one area that probably we can look at is improving our data analytics services. That could be one area which could be provided as an additional services to our existing clients. The clients currently have a lot of data, uh, and if we can give meaningful insights to them, that would be extremely helpful, I would say.
Sharad sir, I have a question if you are available to take one from my side as well.
I'll try to answer, Nehaji.
Yes. So my question is that if we do approach a startup as a CA consultant, then what should be the starting point where from where we can, start building a rapport with them?
Well, I think the most important is to try to understand the needs first. Understand their needs, and rather than trying to sell ourselves right now, because what we and let's first try to understand their needs first. What is their needs for the client, rather than jumping into a solution business. So, like my wife says, when I at home, she gives me a problem, I start jumping into a solution without even understanding the problem. So I get a backfire there. So it's all the case, in the customer case also, we do not, we tend to come up with a pre-planned or a market solution, what is available, and give it to them. Probably the problem might be lying somewhere else. So first of all, I think it's before trying to sell it out, sell something, let's try to engage with the customer and try to understand what his or her requirements are. That would be the starting point of building a rapport or a trust, rather than I don't obviously, let's say, Nehaji, if you're getting a call from a call center every day, we got a property in, we want you to or a credit card. How many of these guys are successful? So I think building a rapport or takes time, and it doesn't happen in first meeting. It do takes time, especially on the advisory side. It do takes time, especially if you do not have a, if you haven't had the credentials, it will going to take more time than what is there. So
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
I'm not sure whether I answered the question rightly, but
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much.
yeah. Is there any other area which I can answer a question? Do let me know, or any other things which I can help out. So please guide on some valuation parts as well. Uh, in terms of valuation, are you looking in terms of the valuation of the startups? Certain times the DCF valuation method is being used, but whether it's going to be the most uh, the right way, that's also a question mark. In terms of being having, let's say, if you're getting an assignment for valuation, before valuation, there could be some areas where you could help them in the due diligence. A requirement could become, one could be, a surely you given a document, okay, do a valuation, and also then before that valuation, you could also be given an option, assignment of doing a pre-due diligence, a due diligence of the company. Uh, One of the thing is that, okay, when you're doing a due diligence on the company, there's obviously a need to assess the quality of the assets, the earning, the debt like instruments is to be there, which can affect the valuation piece. One says the valuation is done in the different. Right now, the one of the flavor of the industry is edtech. The education technology is one of the flavors, and it depends also on the earnings of the multiples are going in terms of the revenue line, and not from the DCF revenue multiples are there. So the DCF method uh, might be used at the end of the time, after the valuation has arrived, to get the valuation for the purpose of the Companies Act and the Income Tax Act. So at times it depends on which industry it is, what is the flavor or the market flavor at that particular time is, and besides this. But as if you're looking at in terms of CA services, there's a big area for helping the companies to get a due diligence in terms of getting the cleaning up their books, is there. Mr. Bajaj ji, if I don't know if I've answered your question correctly, or is there something else which I can help you out? Where do we get guidance on registered values course in India? The registered values valuation course in India is being obviously being run by many institutes. Our CA Institute does run it. The ICW Institute runs it. All the bodies have their own valuation courses are there. So where valuation itself is becoming a very big industry in terms of the work to be done is there. Uh, Rishenji is asking any course you suggest for having a strong grip over startup ecosystem. Uh, I'm not aware of any particular course, but at the same time, I think the best would be is obviously if you can angel network. So, if you know someone in angel networks, meet the people out there, go to their meetings, participate in how their valuation is done. For example, the alumni for SRCC has their own angel network, and they do some quite a good valuation. And then you have learning out there. Um, on how to do evaluation, what kind of challenges are faced. So there could be many other organizations like that. So it's better. It's obviously to hear people. There are a lot of not just like courses, but you can hear the people who have been in the industry, who have know how to do the valuation, who have been successful startups. There's ample of data around on the Google right now. Okay, that's good news. ICA is starting a course in startups. So I wasn't aware of it. Thanks a lot.
We would encourage participants to ask more questions, please.
Will pursuing CPA help in any way to approach startups? Uh, uh, Rishanji, I would say pursuing CPA, especially in India. So, was pursuing CPA, would it help startups? I would say not really, but it will help you in terms of further development of for yourself. um, you'll appreciate how an international organization works. Our institute works very beautifully, but at the same time you'll also learn how an international or another organization works out. So that's my personal opinion on that, sir. uh, is being IBBI registered valuer necessary to do startup valuation? For the purpose of valuation, yes, it is required to be a valuer. As far as my understanding is concerned, you can do a valuation per se, but it would not be accepted for the Companies Act or for any income tax purposes. So, and being a startup, they are very conscious of spending money. So they will get a valuer who is registered. Mayank, I have different questions than a startup. You mentioned companies are using RPS for doing reconciliations and for journal entries. Please help me to understand how it helps the companies without human intervention. Okay, let's say just to give you an example, uh, if I got 20 megabytes of data of 20,000 line items, and if I can do it on in terms of using an automated tool, uh, in half a day, which otherwise would manually be taking more than 2 3 days, man days, and the accuracy becomes higher. So there would be a time saving. And in terms of cost efficiency and accuracy, RPAs and standard reconciliations tools will give you the reconciliation tools will give you up to certain levels. After that, there will be a little bit of human intervention would be required. I'm not saying the human intervention would be totally eliminated. It's required. We do that. We do work for on various reconciliations using SQL, Power BI. We use that. It helps us in terms of large data sets and where we have complex queries to be written off. In terms of journal entries, RPAs are being used for currently for repetitive transactions like invoice booking from vendors, from invoice booking for customers, journal entries. So this all helps us in terms of accuracy and in terms of speed. 90 to 95% of startups fail. What is the reason for failure? How can startups become fit for sustainable growth? Well, I think it's in terms of failure, it's like in any business, it could be, like any business. Let's not just take startups per se startup. If it is any business which you started, and what are the success reasons? Good promoters don't fight, you have enough funding, you manage your balance sheet and the P&L well, the cash flows are being properly maintained, uh, the market is you're working as per the market, you understand the market, you understand the competition. So it's like in any business. So let's not just take why the starters fail. It's the starters which per se they fail, like per se any. The startup world is more challenging in terms of the changes happening. It's more dramatic, and most of the starters are technology based. Uh, so if someone comes with a bigger technology, the better technology, and if the other person has got more funding, he captures the market. So it's a more challenging in terms of that. Valuation report framing a financial model for startups. Sorry, Sumedha, I didn't understand your question. Can you please? How do we build up use case for RPA for startup? RPA has a significant cost. RPA do has a significant cost, but the costs are coming down. But in terms of you can also, besides an RPA, you can use Python and other tools to develop it, and the coding can be done. There are, you can use automated tools for reconciliation like Power BI. The Power BI is a business a Microsoft tool, which is, the base license is free, the desktop version. So there are different tools, and Microsoft on that one is also coming with RPAs on the Power BI. So there are a lot of changes happening. Uh, how to study the financial model for startups? I think that to study the financial model for startups would depend on each startup. I think it will first go from the basics, very basic. One, to understand the nature of the business. Secondly, understanding the baseline accounting transactions. Uh, and then based on that, those 2 3 fundas, what we already know, we do the financial modeling on that. Then we understand the environment in which the market is there, what is the market size, and all those things are there. But most important is to understand the basic and the basic funda, the accounting understanding, the books of accounts of it is most important. Be to the basics. That's my suggestion would be. Uh, what things we as virtual CFO need to take care of in startups? Uh, First is obviously uh, the financial management. We are good at financial management. Let's play with our strengths. My suggestion for the financial management, we are good at it. Let's start with that. Then we move to areas which are not non-technical first. Probably it could be marketing or the other areas, business markets, market study, you know, understanding the market, go to market, and all those kind of things. Uh, and not the third area which we cannot obviously touch or which we probably do not understand is the product development or something, the product features and all the stuff. So but let's play to our strength, rather than jumping to a totally new area. First understand is the financial management area, then come to the other non-technical areas where we can help. Any other questions? Any others request?
I really admire you, sir, the way you take up each and every query with so much patience, and you are always ready to answer the questions which people ask. Generally, what happens is generally faculties just deliver without asking what actually they have even grasped or not, and you, like previous times, and always show so much patience and eagerness to answer the questions, that
No,
it is admirable.
no, I also learn a lot, doing the questions. The certain questions I do not know the answer, so I have to say I do not know the answer. So and so it's always great to interact with people, and in the while when someone questions or someone, I also learn a lot in the process here. So I just have a question to the panel, to the people here. How many of you are already providing advisory services uh, to your clients? If I can just ask the question, if you can just type in the message here, how many of you, besides the normal compliance service, what kind of advisory services you are providing to the clients right now?
Sure, sir. Besides the normal compliance services,
Besides the normal compliance service and the accounting services, so I'm just asking what a kind of business consulting or this one that we are providing. So obviously there's some there are people who are saying is they're doing, yes, business consulting, which is great. So I think besides the normal, I mean, GST advisor practicing FP&A service. So I think we are, most of our people are doing services. Like we know we have someone providing FP&A services, someone providing financial planning services, someone is providing business consulting services. Mr. Saurabh Sharma is providing business expansion services. So we are like most of us are in areas. So they have been able to develop a business beyond the traditional practices, trademark consulting, gift city advisory services. So I think that's in Gujarat. So amazing work is being done by the people of by your, you know, uh, the participants out here. So it's areas for operational efficiency and effective invoicing strategy. That's great in terms of working capital management. So there are a lot of people who are providing different services, and this in itself says, okay, this in itself helps other participants to know, okay, these are also the areas where we can work on. Someone probably gift city advisory services is something, Gujarat, that's in itself is business expansion. So these are areas, where this is where we're saying is these things gives idea to other participants that these kind of services can also be done. So if there's anyone else providing different other services, please mention it out. It will help the other participants.
Rather, so it will be great if people who are providing different services and they live in the same city or not, they could just combine and provide one consolidated type of an, that will be another startup, just providing everything in one under one roof.
I would request participants to take up any other questions if they
Okay.
have.
So, so FP&A services is very interesting services, and in terms of financial planning and analysis services. So having been myself an FP&A manager once, this is quite a interesting area and where you are very close to the business. So amazing services. Let me know you have my email ID or my LinkedIn connection you have. So in case if anyone wants to have any question, just do let me know. Uh, Anything else before I move out?
Do I have the permission to propose vote of thanks now?
It's been my pleasure, ma'am Nehaji. Thank you very much for having me here. Thank you, Tanya ji.
That's so humble of you, sir. We would like to thank you for sparing your time and for opening our minds towards how to strategize, the importance of defining the scope as a part of project management, the challenges of deployment, where resisting to change is the most important challenge, the biggest challenge, the technology disruptions being the biggest challenge for accounting practices, and building trust being the most important part while starting the rapport, and for answering all the questions of our participants and mine too with so much of patience, as Tanya mentioned. uh, Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. And I'd like to thank all the participants as well. I would also take the platform to thank Optotax for collaborating with Voice of CA on such a tremendously hot topic these days. And we hope to walk this road together of CA's empowerment with Optotax. And now I would request Tanya to make the closing remarks, please. Over to you, Tanya.
I guess not much is left for me to speak about. First of all, I would like to thank Sharad sir for sparing again the time for us and be on our platform once again. Your way of deliberating and taking over the entire session is so much admirable, so much insightful that we hardly get chance to sit from our seats, and because it's like if we will sit up, we'll miss something. So it's so much admirable and insightful. Please be in touch with us forever so that we could bring up more and more such sessions with you and could empower our CA community and tax professionals. And a very much thank you to CNA Agrawal for giving us the opportunity to collaborate and empower the members of esteem the Voice of CA Association. As you rightly mentioned, it's a long journey and it's just the beginning. And last but not the least, to all my dedicated and committed professionals who have joined, who have spared their valuable time despite the Sunday evening for learning and development. See you tomorrow at 5 p.m. with the last session. And yes, stay safe, stay healthy, and we will be keep on bringing the such insightful sessions for you for your growth and development as much as possible. This is our motive, and this is our our vision to empower CA community. Thank you so much, and have a
Thank
very
you.
have a very lovely evening, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.